What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Salted Coffee Podcast, a weekly variety podcast hosted by three best friends from New Jersey. I'm one of your hosts, Brian Koenig. Joining me is Devon McCann.
Hey, everyone.
Paul Z.
Hi, Internet.
And returning special guest, Tom Baum.
What's up?
It's been a while since you've been on.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. I think on Facebook I saw it was about a year ago, maybe.
Yeah,
I think it's officially
like exactly a year.
I think it's officially what's called a hot minute.
A hot minute. Yep.
Yes, I
1
think that's
year
the proper,
equals hot minute. Scientific
that's the
fact,
proper
yeah.
number of
12 months.
time.
That's the conversion.
Time. Something along those lines, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I don't know, why did you feel fancy for a second there?
So what's going on?
I have this crazy idea. Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
This is totally random, but imagine if you got into a fight with somebody and it was like those like Rock'em Sock'em robots where you know you won the fight when like their neck pops up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if that was like real life? Wouldn't that be awesome?
So I got to
It'd be like
extend.
Mortal Kombat where the
Yeah,
spine just
I'm a
rips
little-
out of their,
Yeah,
their neck
well,
and just goes flying.
I was thinking, like,
pretty neat.
it wouldn't have to. It could be more than like fights too. It would be like you're playing a game of chess with your best friend, and then you win. Like you call checkmate, and then his head pops up.
That's
in the
his
air.
punishment for
his
losing?
neck extends. Wouldn't that
just-
be funny? I thought it was a good sketch idea, like something you'd see on like Key and Peele. But never mind. Fuck you guys.
Well, I mean, thinking about that, wouldn't? So would your throat just be longer, just like compact, and so like what would be like?
yeah. You'd start
like-
off with your neck down, and then you'd
Yeah.
shoot up as
So
soon
you got,
as you
like,
lose the
folds
game.
going on?
Yeah. Wouldn't that-
So like,
But you
all,
wouldn't
like,
die,
Kinetic
though.
energy.
no, you wouldn't
springs in
die.
there.
Your
just
just
have to-
head would be up a few inches more.
How would you get it back if it's like spring loaded? Like you'd have to like push your head back down. Like
the winner would have
click
to
it in
push your
place.
head back down, and then you have a rematch, and
Yeah.
you just go. Like, no fisticuffs involved. It's just about the actual whatever game you're playing.
Could I use that ability and like for my benefit, or is it only if I lose?
I guess if you needed to eat something up on a shelf without using your hands, and you wanted to extend your neck to reach it without actually
Yeah,
grabbing
like,
it,
what happens-
so you'd lose on purpose so that you could eat the food that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'd say like it might be a good idea in case like you got cabinets in your kitchen and like the spider that you're trying to kill all of a sudden climbs up the wall and gets to the top and you can't see it.
Right.
And so,
So you
now you
gotta-
have a hidden assassin in your house.
So this
what are
is-
you going to do?
You
hit
play a
yourself
game
in
of
the head.
chess and you lose on
right?
purpose.
And you use your newfound mutant powers.
Exactly. You're
to
like a
see where it is
superhero.
and kill it.
But then how do you fix it? You have to stick your
Human
arm on the
giraffe.
top of your head, pull it all the way down.
have a
and kinda
staring
rock it
contest
forward
with
a
the
little
giraffe.
bit.
Could you put your head up against the
You
wall
could,
and push
yeah.
it in? Like and
You'd have to
You
lose
could
hardcore
theoretically,
to
but,
extend
like,
your neck. That
I don't know. You've played Rock and Sock'em Robots before,
Yes, I
Rock.
have.
Yeah, so you gotta like pull the head down
Who
and you kind
hasn't?
of like
Yeah, you
push it
gotta
forward.
click it
a-
in place.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta click it in place.
Yeah, it's all about if that click in place is like something that you can do,
So,
physically.
so do you like have to talk to a doctor if your click in place doesn't work?
Oh, that'd be a problem.
It's like an orthopedic surgeon or like something else.
Dude, you
something
couldn't
else.
sleep. Think about that.
Yeah, you're
Be, like,
sleeping, your head just
2-3
pops up and
feet
hits
tall.
the wall.
Oh yeah, and especially like if it's defective and it happens randomly, and you're just at work and it like happens.
So
You're
the-
in a meeting, like
You lose an argument,
yeah,
and your head just
Goes up.
So
man.
anyway,
people-
that was just a random
married
thought.
guys-
Every
His
time
head
you're
would always
aroused,
be
instead
up.
of your dong, your head
Instead-
just goes straight up.
God forbid you're under
Yeah.
a desk.
That would be imagine
Brian just got
you're
married.
eating a girl out and it happens, and you go inside. Like your head is in the
Oh,
vag,
have you
and you
seen
can
that?
see everything.
Have you seen that internet
That's scary.
picture of that dude that put his head in there?
That
There's
can't
like-
be real.
It's probably not real, but it's pretty
I
good
did
looking.
see
It's
like
what is this?
pretty
I've
interesting
never heard of
video.
this.
It's like an image where a guy like puts his head inside a vagina. I mean, it's like a little fake, but it's like
He's
really
giving her head,
silicone
yeah.
up, and he's like eating out, and all of a sudden like wiggles his head up there. And
That's
goes in,
impressive.
but it's
I feel like I've
it's
seen
like
this
all
year.
prosthetic.
Is this an old video? I feel like I've
Yeah, it's been out there.
Yeah,
it's on the internet for a while.
You ever,
Like,
see,
a
you ever
long
seen the
time.
one? Was it Kids in the Sandbox where the girl puts the vibrator in the guy's pee hole?
Oh,
What?
no.
Oh yeah.
That's awful. Oh.
The worst one is still the one guy, one jar. That thing is bad.
one guy. I don't know this one.
Don't.
Just don't.
I'll bring it up. Just don't.
No, well, you can't.
Don't.
Now I have to.
I mean, you've
And of
seen.
course
It's like when I
everybody's
brought
heard
up
of
the
Two Girls, One
grapefruit
Cup. It's
technique.
just-
Then, of course,
it's
there's
next
Nobody
level
knew
up.
what it
Then, of course,
was.
there's eel
You got
porn.
mad at me.
I've seen that.
Where they
Yeah,
pour the
yeah.
bucket full of baby eels in the girl's butt.
Yeah.
What?
I've seen it with fish too.
This-
It happens,
Yeah.
like, just-
I think you just made that up.
I'm not making this
I don't
up.
think.
No.
Four
Not making this up.
baby eels. Am I hearing this
No,
correct?
bucket full of baby eels.
Bucket full.
So what's a bucket full
it's,
like?
it's
Yeah,
definitely.
like a
10
5-gallon
or-
bucket. with
It
a-
may be some
with a
Japanese
bunch of-
fetish. I don't
It is,
know.
yeah, it is
I'm pretty sure it is. I don't want to be.
And the
sound
girls
racist
like
about
the
it,
girls
but-
like crying, saying, "I don't want to see the shame that's coming out of my butt and stuff." It's
I've seen.
I don't know what to say
I've seen
about
a good
this
amount
one.
of Japanese
Yeah.
porn. And the
I've
shame
seen a
thing
lot-
is something that they're big into.
Man, throughout my time in the
Bukkake.
military,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of weird shit, like a lot of weird porn and
Are
things
they
like
electrical eels though?
No,
That. You know, I don't
they
know.
shock?
I would hope
those
not.
are legitimately like
They kill
they
you.
hurt you.
Yeah.
And they got like big ass teeth and shit.
I mean, I feel like it would
In
still
the
hurt you,
Amazon.
like depending on how thick. I mean, they're baby eels, so they can't be that
Yeah,
thick.
they're little, like, and they stick the camera, like the camera they use for things up there, and you can see like the eel's eyes.
Oh,
looking
like
at
an
the camera.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I need to see this
Creepy.
video.
Me too.
Should do a
Yeah.
reaction.
I don't know if
There's
I
a
want
lot
to
of
though.
bad videos on the
do-
A
internet.
lot of
a
weird shit
reaction.
out
Yeah.
there.
You don't know that there's a whole genre called gore, and it's just like
wanna
straight
see
human devastation.
Yeah, and
Like,
torture porn and
it's
snuff
just
films. And,
devastation. I can't explain it any worse than that or better.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna pass
scary.
on that.
yeah.
Like, growing up
So-
on the internet, I've seen terrible things.
All right.
thought saw
I think we
weird
need to
things
crack
in
these
the
beers
movie,
open.
right? Yeah,
right.
at this point.
Where's the official Salted Coffee Podcast bottle opener?
It's right here.
Aw.
Hold my microphone.
Hold my microphone for me.
Hold my beer.
All right. So I'm drinking Sunfish by Sea Dog. It's an ale with natural peach and grapefruit flavors added.
Ooh.
It's a good summer beer. I've had it before, crisp and refreshing.
We're doing something.
Thank you.
5 cups out of 5 cups.
We're doing something a little different this week.
Yeah, so normally what we would do is all 4 of us, or 3 of us, depending on the episode, we would be drinking the same beer every time, and we tend to do it where it's like a beer that none of us have had before. So this week,
that was
we're
nice.
going to do
right.
every person drinking a different beer.
We had a cornucopia of beers, so we just said,
Yeah, we didn't have
Yeah,
enough
we
for
just
everyone to have
kinda
one of
said
the
I mean,
same.
we did have the one, but I don't know if you guys want that
Oh,
one.
Schoenhofer?
The chocolate peanut butter stout.
I'm gonna respectfully pass.
Yeah, it's,
That-
it's a little
not my
Purple
speed.
Monkey
Like
dishwasher
Reese's beer?
flavor
Yeah, that
thing.
sounds
So-
great.
that beer fest.
So me, I am drinking Asbury Park Brewery Blonde.
Oh, I've had
Keeping
that
it
before.
local.
Yeah, keeping it local.
Yeah, when we went to Miracle, I had one. Yeah, that's good stuff.
I never had it, but
It's good. I give it.
I'm a fan.
I give it four cups.
okay.
And I am drinking Sidecar Orange Pale Ale by Sierra Nevada.
All right, I guess I'll do mine. So I got here another Jersey beer. It's Dogfish Head, out of somebody
3
out of
cups.
Jersey. I have the Blueberry Braggot Honey Ale brewed with blueberries. It's called Exit 3. It's 15% alcohol by volume beer, which means this is pretty thick.
Isn't that like North Wildwood or something? Exit 3.
Yeah, it's pretty much South Jersey, like Cape May-ish area.
Yeah, well, Cape May would be one. I think it's one of the Wildwoods.
Yeah, there's also another. I mean, Cape May Brewery's down there too, and they're pretty good. I definitely talk them up. So I guess I'll give this one a little taste. It is 15% alcohol by volume, so it should put me on my ass. Definitely tastes like alcohol, but it's like
It should.
It's
Too loud?
Yeah, sorry.
It's
Hold
on
the mic too close.
It's definitely more on like the Belgian beer side tasting, but it is strong. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, not very much blueberry tasting, but it's not bad. Yeah, that's what it is. A little sweet.
So that's our off-kilter beer blitz for the
Yeah,
week.
we're going a little off here.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Don't
Crushed
worry,
it.
there's a couple more beers over there that we can crack open and try if you want to go.
Oh, sure.
The Schoenhofer. I think we did do that in one of our first episodes.
Yeah, that one's such a good one though.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's had that though.
Whatever. Yo, Brian, really, honest to God, I had that way earlier than before it popped off. Hipster level knowledge here. Just heads up.
Like underground beer,
Tommy
and
was
then it got
drinking beer
popular.
before it
and-
was cool.
So yeah, anyways,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beer for you.
Beers.
yeah. We like beer here. All right, so you guys ready? We'll hit our.
Silence. So do we want to go into the first
yeah.
topic?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. Sounds
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay.
My body is ready.
I'm all kinds of ready.
Hold. All right.
What? We still having issues there?
So
I feel like we are, but all right. So first topic.
Yep.
Mine is about reading. I've been getting back into reading lately.
What made you want to do that?
I don't know.
Does it hurt your eyes and brain?
I don't know. There was just a few books that I wanted to read.
Books.
Books.
block reading.
What do you
books
read?
is
I
good.
can read books.
Reading books is good.
Yeah.
Read some
Reading
type of
Rainbow.
books.
Okay.
Well, lately I've been getting into like more autobiographical.
Biographical.
Biographical. stuff. So I've been
Like,
reading.
yeah.
Recently I read Born Standing Up by Steve Martin.
Okay.
I read Dan Reichert's book, Dumbest Kid in the Gifted Class.
I've wanted to read that.
That's
for
a
while
really
now.
good book.
Is
It's
it?
fucking funny.
All right. I'm gonna get to that one.
And I've read a book. It's called 10% Happier.
I just bought that book like last month by Dan Harris.
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
read it yet.
Yeah, I just finished it like 2 days ago.
See,
It's
Never read it
really
a
good.
lot.
It's a book. I mean, it's like part self help and part like just shit he was going through throughout his
Personal
life.
stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I know
how,
the
like-
I know the backstory of like his anxiety attack on the air and stuff.
Yeah, like how like
Who's it?
meditation just
He's an anchor, news anchor.
yeah
Dan
for
Harris.
ABC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had like a panic attack on like live on TV, and
That's pretty bad.
yeah. So he like wrote about it. So I guess like explain like the nature of like I guess his experience with it. It's like I know you're saying it's like part self help. Is he's trying to like get people to help themselves and be happier? Is that the
Yeah, like it's pretty much it's not like this is what you need to do to get better. I mean, there is that part.
Sure,
It's like
yeah,
at the end of the book.
right?
It's pretty much just cataloging his experiences with like
Okay.
going through like his career and depression, and then just like
Mm-hmm.
him discovering how meditation works and him like going through pretty much his journey. I don't know.
Right. Right.
I haven't read anything like that in quite some time. I mean, the last thing I read was like a collection of Franz Kafka writings, like short
Jeez.
stories and things like that. I don't know. I've been trying to find some books on what I want to read about, but I haven't been able to find anything.
I read books, but I read only fantasy medieval novels because I'm a fucking
God.
You're a nerd.
George.
nerd. Yeah.
I love
Martin.
like I want to get more into like sci-fi stuff. I hear
more sci-fi.
I hear Dark Matter is good and Sirens of Titan, like Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut.
Vonnegut?
Yeah.
I mean, I do like Vonnegut, but his is not really...
Slaughterhouse 9 or something.
I wouldn't say that he's like sci-fi.
Slaughterhouse 5.
Slaughterhouse
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
I don't know. I read like like Weiss and Hickman, Terry Brooks, R.A. Salvatore, our good friend J.R.R. Martin. That whole series is great.
George Railroad
Yep,
Martin.
yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if there's like hobbits or dwarves or halflings or elves and sword fights
New
and
Jersey.
bow and arrows and
High
dragons stuff. I like
fantasy
that.
shit
Yeah,
and
yeah.
medieval stuff. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings.
You know what? I think the last book I read. It's been a while since I've like read a full book front to back, but the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia book that they did.
Oh,
It has a really long title that I
I
can't
didn't even
remember.
know they did a book.
I didn't know either.
They wrote it like in character, so it's just Dee and Charlie like writing a chapter each. It's hilarious.
Dennis is
and
sounds
we're
like a
all
serial
big
killer.
fans of the show.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I love that show.
you need to read that book. I can lend it to
Oh.
you if you want to read it.
I gotta show you guys at
Oh
some
yeah, I saw
point.
Frank Reynolds.
What?
Oh, I got invited.
yeah,
Oh,
I'll tell you that later.
yeah. Brian's dad.
Yeah, I got invited to be part of a wedding party, and my invitation came on like one of the one of the buff gym
Dude, I have that
You know,
magnet on my fridge.
like yeah, you
Yeah.
know, like the buff arm bicep. Yep, it's like, if you're cool,
Yeah.
I'll
What
show it
up,
to you.
bro?
It's
Party
and
mansion.
it's a whole invitation to like be like in one of his like best men or whatever.
Are you a cool dude looking to hang out with other
Whatever it
cool
is.
dudes?
Yeah. Oh, it's good though.
But I've tried reading the Game of Thrones books, but they're so long.
I got
I
some of the
can't
get
ebooks,
it.
and I tried listening to them at work, and I
Oh.
was just like, I can't pay attention to this.
All the fantasy books, if you're not willing to at least read like 400, 500 pages, bare minimum, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
There are books, a lot of the books that I read from this genre are like 800 pages,
Wow.
or like there are a couple that are 1,000 in the like in the Dragonlance series. There's some that are huge, like just thick book like that.
And I have all the Lord of the Rings books just sitting on my shelf, and I have not read it yet.
Have you like read them at all ever before?
No.
You should. They're
What about Harry
Deep
Potter?
one.
great.
Deep in
I
my
don't
heart.
like Harry Potter
No,
at all.
I
I thought it was stupid.
Never
Harry
even
Potter
tried.
was good for the first couple of books, and then I stopped after.
I read like the first 3, and then I was just like, I don't
read
really care anymore.
Like to the Goblet, like to the Goblet of Fire, Cedric Diggory, and all them.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it just fell off.
Yeah, see,
I found better fantasy books. That's my thing.
I don't know. I can't do. I don't really do fantasy. I'll do.
Me neither.
I've done like some Edgar Allan Poe. Like I said, Kafka.
Oh, I love Poe.
Poe's not bad.
I have a lot of Hemingway that I haven't
I
read
like
yet.
Hemingway a lot.
I read most of For Whom the Bell Tolls. It kind of lost me after a while. I just got really bored of it.
Well, I mean, Twain.
Twain.
Twain's good.
I haven't read Twain in a while. Probably since grammar school I haven't read Mark Twain. I've read.
I like Jules Verne.
I read Beowulf. I read.
I loved him.
Oh, I love Beowulf.
I read Beowulf like on my own. It wasn't for school.
That's,
And-
Oh,
Yeah.
I had to read it for school.
that's one of those, what's it called?
What did you read? Not
Epics,
for school?
Beowulf. I read it on my own.
Oh, okay.
What do they call
I
them?
found a copy with it had the Anglo-Saxon in the back and it had the English in the front.
Yeah, that's a specific book, right? In English, they call it like, it's an epic or heroic or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's an epic poem.
Yeah,
technically.
epic poem. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
What's the other one I read? I read something else. I read.
there's 4 of them or
I read The
something.
Art of War.
What about Divine
I
Comedy?
read
Can we read that?
part of.
That's
No,
great.
Von
I think that's
Clausewitz
really
on
hard to
war.
read.
The,
That was
I read
interesting.
it in
Art
high
of
school
War
and I
is
read it
crucial
again in
book. It
college.
teaches you everything
And
you
it's
need to
something
know
I
probably
want to
ever.
read again
It's
now.
one of those
Art of
books.
War.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the books you can apply
Big Dante's Inferno.
so
guy.
many different ways.
Yeah. Von Clausewitz on war. I didn't get to finish the whole thing. If anybody doesn't know, I'm going to go a little nerdy here.
Go
Von
for it.
Clausewitz was a Prussian general in, I want to say, the 1870s. And he wrote a book about how to wage warfare and total war and everything. I got about partially through it, and then I went on maneuvers, and I brought it with me, and it got wet in the rain, and it got destroyed, and I haven't been able to find a copy of it since. I really haven't really. I looked for a little while, and then I found copies, but I'm
There's
cheap and
something.
wanna pay that
Well,
much.
how?
You ever read or hear of The Man in the High Castle?
Yeah.
That's something you should watch.
I'd be interested in it. Yeah,
I have the book.
I want to. I've been looking for something because it's within the last couple of years. It's been like the 100th anniversary of the First World War going on. I want to try to find a book about the whole generation. It's referred to as the Lost Generation, because all the young men coming to age right around the First World War. We're talking maybe born 1880 and up. They pretty much lost everything. Most of their generation was slaughtered
Right.
in the trenches, and there goes so many creative minds and artists, musicians, and good thinkers because
Imagine
don't do what you have to do. Here's a rifle and go.
being alive from that 1880 to 1930 period. Like your
It
life
was-
is just shit, and
Yeah.
then it got
Yeah.
worse. And like if you fought in the war and you survived, then they took your alcohol away, and then you lost all your money.
You know,
And-
imagine-
No, for you.
No, there's way
That's-
worse.
Imagine growing up in somewhere like Galicia or the Czech Republic, Austria,
Yeah.
where after the war was over, the country that you fought for and everything you
Didn't
fought for
exist.
just didn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and 18th century medicine. Who likes
there was a
who
lot of
likes those
leeches.
saws?
There was a lot of
I
medical.
think you're too far away.
I'm too far away. All right.
Yeah, there was a lot of medical
So-
innovations.
Yeah, I mean,
that.
like, the way that the amputations were awful. I mean, they didn't understand anything about, like, PTSD, which, like, at the time, like, I don't know what they would call it back then, but, like,
Soldier's Heart, shell shock, those all came from that.
well, shell shock was from, like, World War One.
Yeah, it was World War One. The funny part was if you actually look into the history, growing up in the United States, Great Britain, all that, they would be the good guys, the way the history would be taught. But the United States, not as much, but specifically the British were brutal to the British and the French were brutal to their soldiers. The French they'd have people in the trenches for 4 years and not let them go home at all.
I mean,
The British, if you had a nervous breakdown during battle,
they kill you.
well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you're enlisted, they'll come down on you with a hammer. If you're an officer, oh, that's different. Oh, you're upper class.
Yeah, desertion back
Completely
then was.
Hi, it was Well, it still is, and, unless you're Chelsea Manning, and you can.
I mean,
that's a whole
exactly.
topic I don't even want to get into.
Yeah.
So we're talking about.
Well, I
reading.
mean, but it's like more like they might just kill you
what?
right
Yeah,
there.
I thought we were talking about
versus,
reading
like,
too.
Yeah, it would turn into First World War.
Yeah.
All right. Let's steer it back.
Yeah, let's
back
get
to
back
books.
to books.
I tried reading The Martian. Can I go through it?
I finished the
I saw the
Martian.
movie.
I don't
is the
care to
book
see the
better?
movie. The book isn't what I
it's a
was
good read.
expecting.
What were you looking to get out of the Martian? That
I was hoping it would be a lot more psychological rather than like
the
scientific.
sciencey. Yeah.
That's
Like
why you never
just-
watch the movie first.
Just like the psychological aspect of just being alone on Mars and what that does to you, or
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how
Yeah,
you
the
wouldn't go nuts.
isolation.
That movie was great, though.
Was he on Mars by himself for 20 years or
I
something?
enjoyed the movie.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'll see it eventually.
Matt
It
Damon
But
wasn't 20 years.
You don't have to be a fan.
Was
of
it
him
a
to
year?
like the
It
movie.
was a couple years, I believe, 2-3 years. How long was Matt Damon's character stuck on the
I own it. If you want it.
two
couple
years?
Yeah, okay.
2 or
Yeah,
3.
2 years ago, I think.
I enjoyed the book. I mean, I did finish it. So, another interesting comedy book is that there's an Archer book. It's a how-to guide, like how to be a spy.
I feel like there's a comedy book for every TV show.
There should be,
maybe
because a
even
lot of
movie.
them, like they're like Adam Reed, obviously is
So like, there's one
great
for The
writer.
Simpsons, and
that one.
there was
I
a
didn't
Ron
read.
Burgundy one.
My
Is
favorite's
there?
that graphic novel by The Simpsons, the Bartman one, or like the.
Yeah, that's old though, man.
That's such a good
Yeah.
one. Though.
Yeah.
The whole comic.
I don't know. I think the Simpsons, excuse me, have jumped the shark a really long time ago. I
It's
don't think
amazing
they should be
that
on
they have
anymore.
a fan base.
Well, I mean,
Incredible.
you know, I watched them, and there are definitely a lot of missed episodes, but there still are a decent amount of hits. Like, you know, I could say that I watch it every season it comes out still, all
Okay.
episodes,
You're-
like
okay.
through Hulu.
So you're keeping the show alive
and,
single-handedly.
you know, yeah, just trying to.
People at Fox are
There's,
just like,
there's,
I
there's
can't
one
say
guy in
one
Spring Lake,
person
New
Monday.
Jersey watching it.
The Mondays, you know, I watch the whole Sunday night lineup on Monday.
Yeah, and like
through Hulu.
you know, I can't say anything like as far as The Simpsons like being bad or whatever. I was never really a fan, although I never hated it either. But like, I'm a huge Family Guy fan, and we've talked about this many times on the show. Like, I'm obsessed with Family Guy, and I still think it's hilarious. And how many seasons are they in now? Like
Huge.
15 or something. Like,
I'm also a fan of American Dad.
I
They canceled it, right?
wasn't.
No,
No,
it's on
still
TBS.
It's on TBS
I
now.
think
They
I
I don't
moved
know
it,
if they
yeah.
make new episodes, but it's on TV.
They are.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's new episodes.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Cleveland show, not good though.
Do you think that he's trying to kill some of his shows on purpose?
My name is
Um,
'Cause I have a feeling he does that a little bit.
No, that's about all I know.
See, I don't know.
Oh,
It's not
no.
like Seth MacFarlane writes everything.
No,
He's
no,
just
no,
a
no,
creator, and
no.
he does voices, obviously. But like there's a team of writers that they have that do all these shows. So like he doesn't need to necessarily be involved outside of anything than voice work and like executive producing.
Yeah, it's true. He
So and he's got a new show, you hear of the Orville that's coming out next month. So like I'm gonna,
Star Trek.
yeah, it's kind of a parody, but yeah, I'm excited for that.
I
one.
kind of want to see that.
it's
Yeah.
my favorite book, The Orville.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't even know it was booked.
Anyways,
It's not.
It's not.
He's because we keep going off on tangents.
Okay. Well, then maybe.
I mean,
we can
that's pretty much the show.
we can always go to our
it's-
next topic at this
yeah.
point. Then
I'm trying to think if there's anything I've read of consequence in the last year or so. But you know what? Another book I started reading, you might actually be interested in, was Console Wars. It's the
Yeah,
one
I've
that
heard
like
of
Seth
that.
Rogen wrote the foreword or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That I'd never finished, but I bought the ebook. I was reading it on my Kindle. I never finished it. But
I feel like
interesting.
have you read Ready Player One?
no, another book on my list.
Yeah, it's not the greatest
the movie's
book.
coming out. Looks great.
The movie. I
But-
did see the trailer for the movie though.
The movie's coming out, so I feel like you have to read it now.
Yeah, I'm into the reading the gaming books. So
It's just filled with so many references that it's just kind of like, all right, we get it, but it's okay
Mm-hmm.
for like just a mindless read.
okay. So is it
I got it 1 month for free in a loot box, so
Oh, really?
I wasn't
Is it
complaining.
still doing
Is it
Loot
an
Crate
ebook
or?
or what?
No, I stopped doing that.
Ah, okay.
It's an audiobook, ebook, or something.
What, am I doing
Yeah,
ebook?
it's like you have the real book.
No,
I buy books
I-
typically.
I donated it.
You
Ah.
donated it already.
Yeah, sorry.
Huh?
Selfish asshole.
Yeah, I
know.
would have read it.
Sorry.
I don't
Fantastic.
like the concept of an ebook. I like
Go to
actually
your
having a physical
library.
copy in my hand.
Yeah.
See, I've only bought one or two ebooks here and there, and I usually like I do the free sample thing where it's like a chapter and I'll read there, or if it's like $1.
I don't even know if I want to do an ebook. Like, I don't like reading on screens, so
It's
I
one
like,
thing
I like
for,
having
for
it.
short
Rather do
read,
an
like to
audiobook.
read
Yeah.
an article. That's
The
fine.
physical sensation of having a physical copy, the tactile sensation of moving the pages
Yeah.
and everything. It's
I grew
Yeah,
up
you
with
can
it,
still
yeah.
get that with an
Can-
ebook, but it's different.
Yeah.
You can just, it's the swiping and like you
Don't-
can dog ear pages. And
Yeah, there'll
highlight things.
never-
If you want to look up a word, you can just tap it and it all loads it up in the browser. and
Yeah,
fix
but
it.
there'll
Like, it's got
never-
some cool features.
I do like that.
yeah, it's corny to say that there are some things that will never completely die. That's one thing they'll never completely die because
It's just it's with anything. There's
timeless.
CDs and vinyl, and people still buy shit on cassette. I mean, it's a nostalgia thing, really, and there's always a niche market for that kind of stuff. But
yeah, always
yeah,
will be.
Yep, definitely.
anyway.
I still buy a CD or two every year if it's a band I love.
I do too.
You wanna-
So
Yeah.
Segue?
Yeah.
Reading is power. Move on.
Yep.
Knowledge. Was it knowledge?
Knowledge
half
is
the
power. Reading is
Reading Rainbow.
God. Love
Knowledge
this
is
show.
half the battle.
Wasn't the
G.I.
guy that did
Joe.
Reading
It
Rainbow
totally sound
from
like that.
Star Trek or something
Yeah.
like that?
LeVar Burton
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
LeVar Burton.
that's
He was
right.
oh my God, LaForge, Jordy LaForge.
Yeah. Anyway, what's
Don't
the next?
judge me.
What's
Me
our
or you?
next
Which
up?
one do you want to go?
We'll do you.
Okay, so
Ooh,
it does kind of transition reasonably well.
does it? Does
I'm
it?
trying to be super controversial with this, but what I want to talk about is what I feel like has been in the last maybe year a massive attack on free speech. The whole super PC culture thing that's going on.
I was just going to say it's
Yeah.
very rooted in political correctness.
Yeah. Now, while I'm not a fan of offending a bunch of people, that's whatever. You know, unfortunately, you're offended. Sorry, but the First Amendment of our Constitution, which is the First Amendment, the most important one of our Constitution, they put it first for a reason. Obviously, I had to put it first. Was the freedom of speech, press, assembly. I don't have the First Amendment, right? Religion. I don't have the First Amendment directly in front of me right now. Unless you want to pull it up, Tom, you can read it.
Good old rights.
It brings up, you know, the thought process that nowadays it seems like you're not allowed to think things that aren't the mainstream. You're not allowed to say things that would slightly offend somebody. I mean,
Can you give me an example of something?
okay.
And we'll just say like recently that's
if somebody, I'm not going to go. Okay, here's a good one. The whole thing with Berkeley. Maybe was that 6 months ago? Maybe.
what happened in Berkeley.
Okay, so
Whatever that guy is.
yeah, Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah.
I had to make sure I said it
remember
right.
reading about this. Yeah.
He's first off, the guy's an immigrant.
He's from
and
Breitbart, and
and he's gayer than the day is long.
He was forced to resign.
Yeah,
over
he was.
this.
Well, that's not the topic I want to talk about, but that's a whole whole side topic.
Right.
But he had a speech. He was set to have a speech in Berkeley, the college, UC Berkeley, and he's kind of, you know, conservative, and he wanted to talk about that and, you know, his thoughts on freedom of speech being attacked. Now, a big group of protesters, Antifa, whatever, they go there and they trash the campus, they light things on fire, they assault people.
What was
all
his
because they wanted
conservative
to-
views though? Like
It's
what
not
were they?
just Antifa there. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just going out with one thing here. You know, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, like the people that were protesting that were a lot of different groups. Like, you know, you had your just general, like, you know, very liberal college students because it's Berkeley campus, which is like probably the most liberal
Like
college,
USC
in
Berkeley
Yeah,
Yeah,
UC
yeah,
Berkeley.
Okay,
UC
yeah.
Berkeley. Like that's like the most liberal, one of the most liberal colleges in the
nation.
in the
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're very, they think very like you know, Democratic. Like I'm more on the Democratic side of things, and the Republicans very, you know,
Yeah, I lean
like,
liberal as
socialism,
well.
liberalism, things like that. And you know, there's a degree of people there. There's like a number of like Antifa groups, which alone are like there are a number of different ones, but they all can be like kind of put together, lumped together as anti-fascists. And then there are also elements that do identify as like anti-fascists, but are also like just straight up legitimate anarchists that like are
black,
you know anti
black bloc and all of that.
yeah, that are anti-government and like anti-corporation, and like I mean, there are groups that take advantage of certain protesters to cause chaos. I mean, you see it like the G20 and the the G20 summits across the globe. You know, when they go and they get down together, you know, a lot of times you have anarchist groups that come and will try to protest those events. You know, the same thing, the same group is in Berkeley, and I mean, they are across the nation, but like they're not that big of a deal, and they're a subset of like a larger group. You know, you want to say like, you know, I don't know, like the main topic today is like the Antifa versus like the alt-right concept that they've been putting out there.
The way they throw it basically now, and it seems to be spun by the I guess you can call it the liberal media. I don't want to go completely all red pill here.
Yeah.
I consider myself more of a libertarian than anything else, but they pretty much throw it as if you don't believe in this PC culture thing that you are a Nazi and whatever. I mean, me, I
think that was a bit of a stretch.
I think there's
but-
definitely a gray area. In there.
yeah, there's a gray area, but it seems to be how it's kind of put. And here I brought up the First Amendment, and I'm going to read it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put in my thought too. It's okay. From the Constitution of the United States, Amendment 1: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise therefore, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peacefully to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Yeah, so protesting is like basically that last part there, like the redress of grievances.
Yes.
You have a right to
them going
peaceful
the government
protest. It's a
and
key
basically
word.
saying that they're against whatever things that they did.
And of course, and I honestly, I have no problem with him doing that. I'm a very big, firm believer in the Constitution of the United States. I believe every amendment was put in an order for a specific reason. It took them months upon months just to decide on the amendments themselves and then in what order to put them.
Right.
I agree. I mean, I'm totally behind the Bill of Rights, and I also think to a degree we also got to be behind, like, just universal, like, human rights too as well. Like, because I mean, it's not explicitly outlined in the Bill of Rights. Certain human rights, like such as like right to live and
access
not be
to
a
water
slave,
or
access
something.
to water, access to advancement.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Basically not being like pigeonholed, things like that. I mean, it's basically being good to another person. Is like these rules.
Don't be an asshole.
It's hard to.
And even so, if somebody's going and this is the unfortunate thing, and I hate to say this too, but if somebody's going to say things that offend you, say they don't attack you, or they don't by those statements, they don't create violence against you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to agree with what they say.
Sure.
For them to say what they want to say, they have according to that constitutional amendment, the most important one, they have the right to say that.
Yeah, I agree fundamentally in the First Amendment right to the point of where you can assemble and say what you want to say, and it can be totally horrendous things that you can say, but it's well within your rights.
You can still say
because
that.
the reason why we set up these rights is because these types of rights were denied to us when our country was originally created. And I mean, people do state that there is like a certain level, like, oh, well, society's changed so much that you can't base the same thing. And I mean, there is a little bit of credence to that, but I still think that you have to err on the side of safety in this and not overstep like the editing and changes of things to the point of where it completely fundamentally changes how the law itself works and that it doesn't give you the protections anymore.
I mean, as much as I don't like, I despise neo-Nazis and white supremacists and all of that.
I think it's safe to say we all condemn that kind of behavior.
I despise them with a burning passion. But at the same time, unfortunately, you can't silence them. They have, as long as they're not causing violence to somebody else, they have the rights to say what they want to say, like everybody else. That's the whole thing going on in Charlottesville.
So the one thing in Charlottesville that I do have to say, like at the very least, it's on the problem of like the kind of people that were pro keeping up the statues was, you can't show up to a protest with like pseudo riot gear that you create. Like that's not like that peaceful like recourse that's stated in the First Amendment. And you're like escalating the situation before it even starts to like get bad. Because when you have protesters, sure there are times where counter protesters will exist, and as long as they have the legal permutation and they do it in the correct order, then it's fine. But what happens is, there are times where both those groups will end up coming out, and they both have the legal right to be there and there'll be a confrontation. And by starting the confrontation at a point where it's like weapons are already involved, like that already escalated one step. Because escalation of force is something you know about.
I know all about that. And the funny part is, I sound like I'm taking the bad guy's side, and I'm really I'm not, and I'm just being. I mean,
they have a right to say whatever they want. And
I signed a blank check for the Constitution. Part of my oath was against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That also means domestic, more so than you'd think.
Would you describe the neo-Nazis as enemies of the nation?
Here's the thing.
Yeah, if domestic, I'd also describe the people who are going in, and now those counter protesters who are described as peaceful have been throwing, glass bottles filled with M80s. They caught a bunch of them with firearms and axes and knives. They've been throwing bags of feces and urine. That's not peaceful.
Right.
Yeah, well, so that's something that you're supposed to let happen to you, and thus, when that happens to you, you can then highlight that side is a lesser cause because of the negative things that they've done to try to advance their side. See, what happens is, if they... Right now, regardless of what the political situation is happening, is that there's two sides, and in one side there is now, quote unquote martyr, basically the person that died, because now what happens is the one side is now identified as wrong because the person died because of it, and the other side is seen favorably. So like if you're looking from like a political standpoint to create a situation that ends up favorable to you, you're supposed to be the one to come out as looking the high road person. So like if what happened was they had the protest and the people there that were for the statue keeping up, they held their peaceful protest, no problems, no weapons, no nothing, and they were the ones that got attacked. Yeah, it sucks that they got attacked and they were hurt, but their position
We're
of
referring
power,
to Heather Heyer.
Yes.
power, yeah, their position of power would actually end up being greater in like the national scale, because the story that they have, like, and how they can spin it coming out of that is more favorable. And I mean, that sounds really messed up in how I kind of broke it down.
No,
like
it
that,
is, and you're thinking about it from the way they can use it to to further a political viewpoint.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what they're going to do. And the thing that I'm really trying to figure out is, originally when all this stuff started, I'm going to go back to the Berkeley riots and whatever. Those lasted for a few days. Mm-hmm. And the first time that it happened, it was all those people on the black bloc, left, whatever, Antifa. Mm-hmm. They were all attacking people who just didn't have the same viewpoint. But what I don't understand is how somebody I'm talking about a mayor or police chief of a city, is not held criminally liable, or at least held liable in a civil court, because by telling the police to stand down, you're breaching the constitutional rights, the First Amendment rights of the people who are being attacked. You're physically being part of that breach of their constitutional rights, and in my mind, you should be jailed for that. And if you're gonna breach someone's constitutional rights, especially the most important one, you should lose yours.
Well, so it's not his. You can't blame him for it, because he can't be
by telling the
responsible
police to stand
for
down.
specific
He's
elements
trying
coming. He's
not allow things to escalate.
Yeah, well,
but then let people get assaulted and hurt, and
well, that might happen either way if he brings in if he brings in the police and the riot guards. Like, I mean, it might all of a sudden turn south. The National Guard has to be called in, and then actual more violence could happen. And the violence coming from the police and the government side, for the most part, looks very poor. Looks way more poorly on the mayor than
the force
letting what happened
necessary.
happen. Because if I'm the mayor of a town and I call in the National Guard has to put down this riot, and people die due to the way that the riot unfolds, because people are challenging the National Guard and the riot police, and they die because, say, somebody gets hit in the chest with a beanbag gun and dies. The mayor's held responsible immediately, and there's nothing you can do about it.
The officer involved won't be held responsible.
Oh yeah, but
that's not.
No, but the government and the mayor will be held responsible, because he was the one that let those actions happen.
No, I know.
So he's just trying to, you can't. I don't think you can fault the person
protecting
trying
his
to
own
save his own
Let's be honest here. Berkeley's is the epicenter, the birthplace of the free speech movement in the '60s. So their idea of the free speech movement now seems to be only the speech that they find acceptable is okay.
Well, that's what the majority of the people in that area believe, and the way the democracy works is that the majority doesn't get to vote on it. And
so that means you can just cut off someone else's rights because the majority doesn't believe in it. That's against everything that.
It has to be challenged
and died for
it has to go through the proper channels. It has to be legally challenged in a court, and then escalated to the next level of judiciary, and so on and so forth. And hopefully, it gets up to the Supreme Court level, and where it gets ruled on by them, the highest court in the land that interprets all of the United States rules and laws. Everything that every rule and law right now is currently enforced and worked on based on the interpretation due to a legal case or whatever a judge thought, and those thoughts and how the judge feels and rules changes as the years go by. You've seen many court cases go through about different topics. We're talking about free speech, talking about Fourth Amendment rights, Sixth Amendment rights, things like that, that change over the years because different courts hear cases on it and change the rulings on it and the interpretations. So, and it doesn't have to be Supreme Court level to make those changes. It could be district court level or state court level, and it might only apply to a state, or it might only apply to federal. Yeah, I mean, it runs the gambit of jurisdictions, and that court only holds its own area where it's enforceable at. So a law in California, in one county, could be enforced one way and completely different across the country in Massachusetts.
Yeah, the real thing on that and I'm not going to keep attacking the mayor of Berkeley. Although
Yeah.
I still think he's a freaking.
a little.
I want to call him a Nazi. I think he's a Nazi because he's breaching people's.
He's more of a
constitutional
socialist or
rights.
communist, I'd say.
Not national. Nazi is National Socialist Workers Party.
Yeah, I know.
There we go. Which is funny because everybody who's super socialist tends to overlook that and be like, "Oh no, it's not the same." It's like,
Well, I mean,
maybe a little bit.
the whole fact of the Nazi thing is not the socialism part of it. It's like the I hate Jewish people part of it. It's like the big part.
That's a big part
and
of
like
it too. I'm just saying.
the I feel the need to like ethnically cleanse like.
Are you guys
religious
telling
groups
me
and
that
all
you
these
don't
things.
believe in eugenics?
Oh,
The hell is
eugenics.
wrong
Oh.
with you?
Oh, not so much.
Maybe Dianetics.
Dianetics.
I forgot my train of thought there, but anyway, what would have solved all of this was we were saying before, probably before we got into this topic on the podcast, was to have solved all these problems. Okay, the removal of the statue in Charlottesville, I'm all fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, somebody who lost a fucking war shouldn't have a statue to them.
I'd agree.
But it doesn't mean you have to destroy the statue. You can put it in a museum. You can
Yeah.
put it in a
Yeah.
specific spot where you're going to have a whole area, like a big field where you're going to have about that part of history from the war, because you still should tell that story.
Yeah, I know. Brian brought this up off air that it's a piece of art and art done at a specific point in time, and like that artist is gone, and there might not be a recreation of it as accurate as it was then. So like you might lose specific styles or strategies or thoughts of how statues were made at that point in time. In the early 1900s is where a lot of them were made. You lose like the techniques.
It's preservation
and
of
the
history.
Yeah. So there's that, but I don't think that is super as important as like maybe the fact that they shouldn't have it. I mean,
It's about what it represents.
Yeah, I
Yeah, they
don't
lost
like it because of what it represents.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a weird opinion of that. I think that if you lose a war, you should just lose entirely. Like they fought and they fought as brave as they wanted, but they lost, and they fought a war to try to break up our United States for the express right for their states to decide that they want to have slaves. So there's
it wasn't completely, but that was a big part of it.
Certain
yeah.
people make like that states' rights claim to the Civil War, and I mean, it's that states' right to have slavery. That's like that's that state right that they fought for. So I mean,
Big
I don't
one,
know.
yeah.
It's not there. It's not very easy on that.
Yeah,
But
not big into that.
But I think if you lose a war, you shouldn't be given any easement. Nothing nice. I mean,
I think it's still important that the story be told. It's
course,
just that
extremely important.
you shouldn't be
that's
glamorizing it,
that's also part of the
romanticizing it.
that's also part of the argument with the protection of the First Amendment. So where's it going to stop? Where's it going to end? Because after that, okay, the next day, people in Chicago wanted the name of George Washington taken off of a park and having his statue taken down because he owned slaves. Now, once again, I don't condone anybody owning slaves. I think it's fucked up, but he was a man of the times.
Right.
It was
that's
a
a little
different
different.
time. And then they also trashed an Abraham Lincoln statue, claiming that Abraham Lincoln, the man who signed the Emancipation Proclamation, that guy, he was racist.
I'm just gonna say,
Once again, man of the times.
America was one of like the last countries to get their act together in terms of slavery. So
Which
like
is
around the
fucking
world, it
despicable,
was
but
all,
still.
yeah, I don't know, like the worldview of slavery at the time of when the Civil War happened was like, it's not a good thing. We should not do this anymore. I mean, we're talking about countries like England, who are like a terrible, awful empire that like
Yeah, the fucked
oppressed
up-
people. And
the fucked up shit they have done.
And the messed up stuff that they've done. But they like said, all right, well, guys, slavery's wrong. We're gonna not do this anymore. They figured that out. So we should have maybe got on that same boat.
The people
same
who did
time
England,
earlier,
the people
maybe.
who did fucked up shit to other people, to brown people all around the world to keep an empire up until the 60s.
Yeah,
I think it's hard to like define somebody's character. Like as you were saying, a man of the times. Like that's when it was, it was starting to become frowned upon. Obviously, you're fighting against that, but it was still a thing that people did. And like, do you define someone's character by one thing that they did when it was considered socially acceptable at the time?
And it's the people the ones I feel are most breaching other people's constitutional rights, who are the ones that want to selectively enforce constitutional rights, like the ones that they want. And the people who wrote the Constitution are only okay to the point where it affects them positively. Once they want to find a reason to shoot down another founding father, they're going to do it.
Yeah, and it has to be applied equally across the board for all citizens.
It's that simple. Everybody gets the same rights. You don't get to pick and choose, and you can't. I mean, once again, like I said before, Americans have died, of every color, of every color, race, and ethnicity, from their origin, have died for this country to defend those constitutional rights, and we've died for the rights of other people around the world because we believe so strongly in our Constitution. Mm-hmm. But it feels like people are trying to erase this, and it's actually getting really alarming to me.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw this out there. Feminism.
I don't want to touch this.
No, this is not.
That's a whole different topic.
I'm not touching it.
No, hold on. No,
right.
I
There's so
have
many
a
levels
thought.
of this that this is going wrong.
There's somebody, a gaming personality that I follow, who is very active in the feminism community.
Are you not going to name names?
I'm not going to.
Okay.
It's not about Gamergate, is it? Yeah,
I'm a fan of this person.
I think I know who you're talking about.
And she's very, very feminist. And there's nothing wrong with that. I believe, there is a wage gap. That's a fact. And that's something that we as men and also women themselves should be fighting for, to kind of raise awareness and expose this and change this. But there was something else that she tweeted that it was something like, well, I want to one day go to a gaming convention and have someone not come up to me and say, well, you're great at what you do and we like that you review games and you're giving exposure to women in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it kind of, there's this duality to it where you want to raise the awareness and you want to close the wage gap and bring the awareness to it, but you also don't want to be recognized for it as a woman. You want to be seen as equal.
Right.
But at the same time, being a feminist tends to be pro-woman instead of pro-equality. That's where I get offended by
I don't think it even can be
and I have
taken
no right
to
to
that
say
level. The culture on the internet and the gaming community is so different than what people assume it is and what they think it should be, and what society is normally in general. That it's so hard to apply. I mean, you got to realize that a lot of this is the demographics of video games and who that they're catered to, and they are mostly catered to males because they're the majority. They're the majority. Yeah, they're the dominant product. So they want the big titty women fighting and in the skimpy outfits and stuff. And that might be objectifying to women, and it might not be very appreciated to women. But it's a business decision that's made.
Yeah, there's
they're looking to make money, and the best way to make money is to appease their target audience, and
you still see a lot of that in
people who are going to buy the games.
Yeah,
right.
There's different types of feminism, and there's feminism, and then I guess there's what I've heard called as third wave feminism, which is kind of the militant and kind of wacky one.
Yeah,
and I think that's beyond the scope of this podcast, where we can go.
That's another topic.
Whatever we say with a grain of salt, because we're men and we obviously have that bias. But it's something that just frustrates me. Militant is a great way to put it.
There's the give equality to women thing, which I'm all about. Then there's the all men are evil, and we need to get rid of all of them. That's the militant portion. But like I said, it's.
I think it
something
depends on
I don't want to touch.
Or people just need to not be shitty to each other.
That's a pretty good thing.
Just need to be excellent to each other, Bill and Ted said.
Look, it's not
I just fight for equality. Don't try to raise the bar and make yourself better than the people who have kind of.
Don't come from a high position. If you think you come from a higher position than another, it usually doesn't work.
You know what? It's something that has driven me nuts for the last few years, especially having been in the service and everything. That I don't get why people always want to highlight our differences, because everybody is so much similar than everybody seems to understand, and that's what drives me.
You and I
craziest.
We're not so different.
Really not.
Just do your job. That's all I ask of you when you do something in life.
Do your job and
do your job.
Don't be a dick.
I don't care what
appreciate
religion
each other
or
as
sex
humans
or gender you identify as or anything.
Exactly.
I just if we're interacting, let's just not be jerks to each other, and let's both do things that we're like trying to get accomplished.
Everybody be excellent to each other. I
and
like
not
that.
fuck that up.
Yeah, Bill and Ted were wise
It's
people.
so corny, but like treat others the way you'd want to be treated.
Oh,
so.
exactly.
Big thing.
I mean, yeah. But
Anyway,
this
I've
will
had
be,
that on my mind.
I'll get a
think
little
it's
side
just-
topic here.
I think this is something we should probably segue to a
Yeah.
new topic.
I mean, if you want,
I think-
Well,
I
we
think
could talk about this for 2 or 3
Yeah, I could
fucking
talk.
hours.
There's-
I
there's
could.
so many
like,
things I could
I
jump
see
to.
both
I
sides of the
definitely wanted
coin,
to, but I'm not gonna.
but I see both. Like I said, I see both sides of the coin, and I'm getting a little more alarmed recently because I feel like it's going in one way, and the media is trying to push it that far.
Well,
and
here's-
so desperately, and it
Look,
scares me.
Antifa has just as much a right as those guys do
course
to
they do.
protest and do what they did. I mean,
Of course they do, and I peacefully assemble all you want. Just don't attack people and don't light fucking cars on fire.
yeah,
How hard is that?
it's something. But look, just hold them accountable. That's all that needs
Well,
to
that's
really
what
be
they're not
done.
doing because they don't do it.
Well, then those who don't hold those accountable are the ones that are then by default accountable.
Exactly.
So you have
Yeah,
to
you gotta
then
go up the
look
chain.
at go up the chain and see where it goes. And if they're sympathetic to the other cause, maybe like that's
Remove
the
them.
demographic you're not supposed to be with, or you got to challenge it to the next level.
Of course. Well, okay. Time to segue.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Sure.
Are you guys ready for this? I did
Yeah.
not brief
I'm not ready
anyone.
because you didn't tell us what your
Yeah,
topic was.
I didn't brief anyone on what I was going to talk about because I want a pure reaction to this case.
Hang on.
Okay, so this is a really interesting case. This was back in May, and it just randomly came back to the forefront of my mind for some reason, as I was having some trouble coming up with a topic this week.
Okay.
So here's the case. So, background. Brandon Vesmar, 37-year-old man from Austin, Texas. He asks a 35-year-old woman that he meets online to go out on a date, and they go to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Good movie.
Fucking awesome movie.
Oh wait, I heard about this.
I think
I
I've
know
heard
this
of
one.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So they go out, and 15 minutes into the movie, this woman starts texting on her phone. And the guy, Vesmar, he complains that the woman activated her phone at least 10 to 20 times in a 15-minute span to read and send texts. And it happens to be one of Vesmar's biggest pet peeves.
It's one of my biggest pets.
This would bother
Yeah,
me too.
I get really upset with this. I'm having Baby Driver.
On
Oh
on
yeah.
a date,
Oh man.
then yeah, it would drive me insane. So I mean, imagine you're out to dinner with some chick and she's just not paying attention to you. It's a different scenario with the movie, obviously, but anyway. So the guy asks her to stop. It's
Natural.
distracting and it's bothering him, and he's like, if it's an emergency and you need to text, just go out in the lobby and text, and then come back and we'll watch the movie. So she goes out into the lobby and she leaves. She does not come back. She's like, screw it. So what this guy does is, rather than just chalking the situation up as a bad date, he sues her for the cost of the movie ticket, which is $17.31. Well, he asks for the money first. She says no, and so he escalates and takes it to court. So it's small claims. This is in Travis County, Texas.
Okay.
It's also part of the case is he claims that it's a direct violation of the theater's movie policy and that she adversely affected his viewing experience and that of other patrons. So you don't know that for sure. He's making that assumption, but that's part of his argument.
Wait, so is he suing
He's suing the
her
woman.
for the ticket that she bought, or for his ticket
He
that
bought-
he bought? That
He's
he, you know what I'm saying?
he's only suing her for the $17 that it cost him to pay for her ticket, not his own. So yeah, because I guess that would mean he spent $34.62 then. So while the damages, this is a quote from the case according to Brandon Besmar. While damages sought are modest, the principle is important as the defendant's behavior is a threat to civilized society. Perhaps a bit hyperbolic, but you know what he means.
Yeah.
So it's the principle. The woman claims, whose name is withheld for some reason, that she only texted 2 or 3 times. The phone was on low, and I wasn't bothering anybody. I wasn't like constant texting.
That's not excusable.
No, it's fucked
Just
up.
a heads up.
Yeah, and that's
I'm gonna
you know
excuse that.
she's totally bullshitting there.
Yeah.
Of course she is.
I don't care if she's bullshit. Not,
because you- and you
even those
can't-
2 or 3 times is not acceptable.
Yeah, and you can't prove it, but you know that she's just trying to downplay the situation. She knows what she did.
She's probably like a total valley girl. Like totally. it's okay.
35 years old though, this woman. So I mean,
Who's she know?
And the woman now is planning to file a protective order against Vesmar because he contacted her younger sister for the money.
That was a problem on that guy's part.
He should not have done that.
Okay, but it's not like he's constantly bothering her.
Right. He asked one time. She said no, so he reached out to a fan. It's a problem because this is a woman that he only met the one time, and it was an online date that they set up, and they never spoke again afterwards.
Well,
so reaching out to a family member is a problem. Do you need a protective order?
He shouldn't have done that because
the judge, I doubt, would grant it.
Yeah,
highly doubt it. He'd probably tell her she's blowing out of proportion.
Yeah, because what you do is you just go to the small claims court and you levy the claim against her, and she gets a summons. And if she doesn't want to answer the summons, the court case still goes on, and that court date still happens, and she's just not there and present.
Yeah, she's
so if she chooses to ignore,
it's called absentia.
Yeah, like a tried absentia, and if she just ignores it, that's her own prerogative to do that. But there's no need for you to get in touch with her family to make sure that she shows up. Just it doesn't matter if she shows up or not because it'll happen anyway.
I mean, I wouldn't have gone as far as he did, but
he went really far. I would say, I wouldn't have sued for the ticket that I spent on her. I'd have sued for the ticket that I spent for myself.
I'd sue for both.
Well, look, one I would think would be considered a gift because you're going on a date and you're gifting her the entry fee to the movies. But her ruining the movie and violating the policy, I think could be seen as something negatively affecting his enjoyment and his experience, which would then equate to his ticket and not her ticket. You know what I'm saying?
So here's an interesting little follow up. I'm sorry, Dan.
Yeah, I think I might have been.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I do know
the case you're talking
about. There is no update on how the case was played out yet. But here's something I just found out now.
Oh yeah.
While I researched the guy's name, he has his own website. Since the court, he has created his own website. He's got pictures of himself and quotes from the Greg Gutfeld show, where they basically made fun of him for this thing. Mm-hmm. So here's the real question then. Did Brandon Vesmar sue this woman on purpose just to get fame? So he could create his own website, get his name out there, and then have news shows talk about him. That gets people to look his name up, as I just did.
I think the rest of what happened with the case, too, is that she just up and left in the middle of the date.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And
right. That's not a good look for her, but I tend to lean on the guy's side because you don't want your date doing that. But it's also her right to just leave if she's mad or if she's uncomfortable. You can just do that.
Yeah.
Now, does he have the right to sue for the money?
It's a breach of a social. It's called a social contract.
Right. Yeah.
However, there's no.
Yeah, there's no real
ability to enforce that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is
now
mores and folkways or something they're called, and that's a breach of one of them.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you can claim the ticket that she spent, that she had her ticket, because you gave it to her as a gift to use as she sees fit. Because once you buy the ticket for her and hand it to her, it's a gift.
Sure, yeah.
And it's hers to use, to squander however she feels it. If you buy her a burger and she doesn't like the burger and she throws it away, you're gonna sue her because you didn't eat the burger. I mean, but I think
would you take the burger home though if she doesn't? Get it in a doggy bag. Would you take the burger back?
And she was gonna throw it out. I could take it away. Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying to take that. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, I like food, so yeah, I think it's okay. But I would have. I mean, I definitely think that though he can claim his own ticket as being ruined. Because you go to this place and you expect an experience and you expect a level of movie goingness or whatever, and she ruined it by doing her phone stuff and that, and you would ask. I guess throughout the process, he had asked her, I guess, to stop, and she didn't want to stop, or she did stop and left and made a whole to do. So she might have ruined his total experience, and I think that he can then claim his own ticket, in his own experience costs. But I don't think he can claim her experience costs. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think he came at it at the wrong angle. I think if he went with the right angle, he had a better claim. But
yeah, I mean, obviously, it seems silly to sue for something this small of an amount to go to small claims court. I mean, you spend quadruple the money just on court fees.
Yeah.
So, but he himself said, this is about the principle, and you set such a dangerous precedent if you give this guy the money.
I don't know. A lot of times when you
really
say
do.
this is about the principle of things, it's usually like never a good sign.
Right.
Because it's always like either you're really reaching or it's like something you're not supposed to be doing in the first place. Or
Yeah.
like,
I'm bothered by the,
I mean,
by the
there-
fact that he has his own website now and stuff. I mean, I get it, 15 minutes of fame, and you want to take it, seize that opportunity.
Yeah, even by now, it's like it's
yeah, 3 months ago.
Been
or
3
whatever,
months, yeah.
But
yeah.
it's just a fascinating little
It's a little
story.
crazy.
Yeah. So I
Talk about bad experiences at the movies. I do think that people should be held accountable for ruining other people's experiences. 2 weeks ago, I went and saw Baby Driver, which was a great movie. But for some reason, the person to the right of me, literally 2 seats over, has their phone on full brightness, just texting the whole time, ruining the movie for everybody else. Like, man, I want to be dark and in the world and in the zone. And yeah, maybe I had been drinking earlier in the day, so I was a little bit peeved by it because I'm a little drunk.
Maybe.
But, they give you those warnings, and they tell you you're not supposed to do it, and it's policy. And you know what? You should follow the rules, especially when it's like
we
not just your
discussed the
experience.
social
Are you that,
contract.
Yeah, are you that selfish of a person that you're going to ruin it for other people and do that? And if so, I think you should be called out. Now, I did want to stand up and say something, but I was kind of at the behest of my sister, Brian's wife, was kind of not to make a big deal of it. But I kind of really wanted to.
I didn't even know you were doing this throughout the movie.
I was so
enveloped
I
in
was
the movie.
looking over it for her like a couple times to like get her approval so I could like just like call her out on it, and like I really wasn't given any approval like that. But like I really wanted to say something, and because it was so frustrating, and the brightness would ruin the movie and the whole experience. Because like I was in the zone, and then
I did
was
see
out of the
that.
zone.
I did see that weird like flash go off.
Yeah, it
in
was
the middle
her.
of the
She
movie.
did it
I was
multiple
like, what
times.
the fuck was that?
And I was like, so I was like passively aggressive. I was passive aggressively getting
punch
back
her
at
in
her.
the ovary.
And like
Straight
I'll
in the
tell you,
ovary.
it was when it first started doing it, I was like, shuffling my popcorn around and like, grabbing my like soda and shaking the ice and stuff, trying to like get her
a
attention
signal,
to know
yeah.
I'm distressed.
Your
I'm
feathers are
upset.
ruffled.
Yeah, I'm upset. That didn't work, so I went to my plan B, which was just to crop dust the entire like movie theater, like hardcore, like just. Like I'd been doing
Just
day
straight-
drinking.
just straight
so I was
fart in
it
the
was just,
general
like, day drinking
direction.
farts, like of just like going at it.
So do you like hold in farts for the day in case things like this?
No, I
happen?
mean,
So you have
but depending upon your situation, who you're with, you do
Always
hold
good to
your
be
farts.
prepared.
You gotta be able to control your own bowels, or else you're gonna shit yourself.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
That's one of those concepts that you learn at like age 3 or 4. You're like, I can't poop myself no more. Let's try to avoid that. And it can always be a risk when you fart. Obviously, there's always that risk. But like, a lot of it is experience and mitigation and knowing your own body. And there's
It's a
there's
numbers
times
game.
when you can risk it and times when you can't.
Like at work.
You better know those times, because those times are not only situational, but it's also like how your body's feeling at the time. If you've been having loose poops, maybe you don't want to take that chance at that time. But like,
Yeah,
if
know
it's been-
your
if it's just been-
body.
Yeah, if it's just been gassing
yeah.
and stuff. Just let it go.
See, but eventually, like if you're full of gas and you fart 5 times in a row, there's always a chance that the 6th bullet is the one that kills you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Russian roulette. Yeah. I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
How did this go to?
So,
Russian
so
roulette?
did she stop?
'cause
Did you get her to stop
I was
doing the texting?
Yeah, she wasn't stopping texting. So my solution was to just like fart really bad to hopefully like cause her distress and discomfort.
Well, that was probably causing her to text to be like, "Oh, this guy next to me just keeps farting."
Exactly.
I hope that it was to the point of where
You
like
should have just done like the lift and aim, like pick your ass up
This
and aimed it at her.
fucking guy keeps farting.
Like,
You-
whatever. If she has a problem, she should say something.
If it was
can't
me, now, I would
breathe.
take it a step further. Don't just do the lift and aim. You get up and drop trow straight in her fucking face.
No, that's how you go to jail. I don't
Yeah.
want that.
Well, that's true because it's like lewd
No
conduct.
jail time for me.
Or you could have done the.
She sees
You
your
could have
asshole.
been like, "Hey, you want some?" You could have done the whole hole in the bottom of the popcorn and be like, "Hey, you want some of my popcorn?" And that's also lewd.
And then you fart in the popcorn so that she feels the
Yeah,
fart.
but I was there
Sure.
with my sister and brother-in-law, and like I was kind of sharing the popcorn, so like I didn't want to do that. My dick cheese popcorn. I don't think
Popcorn tastes
I don't
like
think they'd
farts.
appreciate that.
you could have like
And
farm
also,
popcorn.
I
give it to her and be like, "Ha
we
ha,
had
she's
spilled
eating my farts."
I had spilled M&Ms into it, so like it would be butter and like sugar coating covered in multicolor. I don't know. It's getting out there.
Wait,
Wait,
you
she
put
sounds
M&Ms
pretty
in the
fucking good.
popcorn?
Yeah, I remember we had the bag of M&Ms. And
interesting.
we split it.
Well, now.
At one point, I grabbed it and I spilled like half of the bag into the popcorn.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
I didn't even notice.
that's the way to go.
Man, I was really into that movie, I guess.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
That was a baby that drove cars.
That's
Yeah.
what I think of every time.
I thought it was-
imagine Boss Baby and like
Soundtrack
a
amazing.
Maserati.
It's exactly what I thought of when I
Soundtrack
kept
was
hearing
amazing.
about it.
I imagine Boss Baby in like a 1993 fucking Honda Accord.
It's like, what the fuck is Alec Baldwin doing in this movie? About driving.
You know, I actually watched Boss Baby and I didn't think it was that bad.
Oh my god, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
It wasn't that bad. It was
I'm a
cute
fan of Alec
kids movie.
Baldwin, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah, he's all right.
There's a lot of times where he's bad, but this was a good time. I mean, The Departed is pretty good.
The Departed's a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a
and
fan of that
30
movie.
Rock, exceptional.
Never watched it.
Oh, you're missing out.
It's
I'm
a
gonna
good,
tell
it's a
you,
good show.
it's a good one. If you like Parks and Rec, or if you like The Office,
watched
you
that either.
like.
Or that.
Oh my God, how do you not watch The Office? The Office is a classic.
Yeah. Maybe one
Michael
day.
Scott.
He's not a fan of the dry humor.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
Neither
my
am I.
fault that this started with some British show that came to America and then
Yep.
spun
Yep.
off all these things.
Yeah, British people are the worst.
I know. That's why we kicked them out of this country.
Something like that.
It's okay, they're back.
Totally.
Yeah, speaking of football,
Speaking of football, all right, so
Foosball.
It's fantasy season.
we can move to my topic, and it is fantasy football season.
This is why I wore my Redskins hat and jersey today.
I do like that.
This is
You
exactly-
wear that like
I
all
was
the time.
prepared.
Anyway.
Yeah, there are definitely some prospects coming out of Washington that-
Fantasy,
that I'm
that's-
definitely interested in.
The only fantasy players worth owning on the Redskins this year: Kirk Cousins and Terrell Pryor.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that
Foosball.
Rob Kelly is a
Yep.
anything
He's
to shake at.
interesting.
I'm gonna
but,
press the
they-
mute
they
button for this
drafted,
one.
Yeah,
So
Green,
Brian.
who's going to be pretty good.
You know,
supposedly.
he is a number one running back, Rob Kelly, right now. And last year he did put up a lot of.
He was good he had a good stretch.
Yeah, I definitely say so. Not only do I want to talk, I just want to talk about fantasy and maybe football in general, and
How many leagues do you do?
Oh, I do 3 leagues this year.
Talk about how much we don't know.
So I do a Yahoo, an ESPN, and a Yahoo. I also play fantasy baseball, which I was going to mention, and I do that on CBS, which is fairly nice. I like CBS. CBS is good for commissioners, like for running the leagues.
I didn't do fantasy baseball this year. I did it last year.
Can they hear us vaguely?
Was also probably.
It's even funnier.
Yeah, I was playing fantasy baseball on Yahoo, and I think that Yahoo's got a very nice program. But
know
CBS
is
is
that,
not bad. Not bad at all.
Fucking.
Yeah, it's very hard for them to mess it up. You got to be really bad, and the bad part's about
I invented
updating and
electricity.
timing and things like
Ben
that.
Franklin is the devil.
But not only this, but just regular football starting. The preseason's kicked in. Teams are going.
It's okay. Me
They're
and Devon are
going.
gonna
Yeah,
get Tim on here. We're gonna have a hockey.
yeah.
podcast.
I think
ask
that
you to-
Kirk Cousins is like a very good
No, I'm
quarterback.
gonna buy
Very
you
good.
beer and just gonna ask you to,
Guy throws
Just to do the working
ton of
soundboard
yards.
because I can't
He's like
hear
what?
the
Last
fuck
year's
out.
like top 5, top 6, maybe 5 or 6 quarterback. Yeah, yeah, a lot of touchdowns too.
I'll do that.
I think you'll have a good team this year. I think it'll be fine. I think the NFC East is a
Maybe I'll,
challenging
burn
division.
it on
I think I will
disk
worse
and
though
then
with
give you
that
the file.
Ezekiel Elliott news.
9 and 17.
Preseason starts.
Me too, as a Giants fan. I'm a huge fan.
Preseason hockey starts next week, or not next week. Next month.
Whatever. If there's
So-
ever a player that can implode and that should do good and implode, it's Des Bryant. Des Bryant's the kind of guy that we're gonna roll out Des Bryant to help us carry through this tough time. He's just the
Apparently,
right
you
type
can
of guy to
implode.
just suck it up and explode. But how many leagues do you say you were in this year?
This year,
Spontaneous internal combustion. Even more combustion
yeah.
internally and
Yeah, but-
spontaneously.
So it's a 10-team league. We pay
Indubitably.
$200 pot.
Yeah.
Indeed,
Whoever
quite.
wins the championship. And the loser gets it's a $20 buy-in,
Mm-hmm.
so $200.
Yeah, so I'm playing in a league this year that's going to be one's going to be 75, one's going to be 60, and one's going to be 35.
Okay.
And my 35 is 10-man league, so it's a lot more.
It's always
easy to
better
go,
when
yeah.
there's money involved.
Yeah, I always like it with money. But
So ultra competitive.
well, so what's your opinion of? We're talking about money and stuff. So what's your opinion of daily fantasy?
That's something I've never done.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have any experience with it. But I'm familiar with the concept.
Yeah, it's,
I follow Matthew Berry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know about the whole Roto World shit and
It's very to me it's very much like online poker in the way that it works and how it's laid out and slotted to
yeah.
you.
So
But,
you have to pay to have a player for that particular.
You have a purse
week.
and you get to buy guys.
They call it a purse. They should really call it a wallet.
Well, you have like a bank or it's whatever.
Whatever.
I mean,
I
they
know
call
what
it
you
something.
mean.
You have a budget. It's a budget usually.
Okay.
And you basically get to buy guys at whatever their rated cost at, and the costs are usually set up by Vegas somewhere or some.
They like buy guys.
Some things. Yeah, and guys are worth differently. So you're looking for the guys that are gonna kind of pop off that week that are unknown. So you're looking for that third wide receiver has a good week.
Fantasy football requires a lot more research than you think it does.
Yeah, and to me, it's very much a numbers game, and you're looking not only at consistency.
It's also at gut feeling too.
Yeah,
a lot. It's about instinct.
And you know what? The game, you don't even have to watch the game to like fantasy football, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You can basically just watch it on the numbers.
It's just a game.
Yeah, it's just assessing numbers and looking at matchups and knowing favorable matchups. So you're saying you're taking you have you set it up. This is for a bit of clarification. Fantasy football is you draft a fake team of all the players in the league. Your team could have a guy from Dallas, a guy from Buffalo, a guy from L.A., a guy from New York, from D.C.
Yeah, we're saying this for your benefit over there because we know you guys aren't familiar.
It's
we're literally
you have a starting lineup and it goes quarterback, wide receiver, running back.
It's a fantasy
end,
draft.
kicker,
If you were playing
defense.
Madden and you did a fantasy draft, you could have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, and then your running back is Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, and you can have wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr.
Right, exactly.
And
so
all that.
it's like an all-star team.
Yeah. And it's based on a draft that you have at the beginning of the year, and then you have a waiver wire in which you pick up guys.
I'm the king of the waiver wire.
Yeah,
You like
love
to-
it. That's
oh,
where
you
your
like to pick
fantasy
up guys?
drafts are winning. If we're talking about fantasy football, hell yeah. So, I mean, look, I'm not going to say that, fantasy football can win you a bit of money, and it's fun doing it. And it turns something that a lot of times a lot of people find boring that, everybody else loves into something that's, actually enjoyable. I used to not care about any other team or not care about any other football other than the Giants until I played fantasy.
It expands your interest in the whole league and
your
players
knowledge, your knowledge increased, so you understand the game better. So when you watch now, I know, different setups and where the vulnerabilities are and when, a blitz is calling, you can tell, based on what the calls of the quarterback are doing.
It also makes
how everybody lines up.
How you want to watch games that aren't of your favorite team.
Yeah.
If you had Aaron Rodgers on your team, you want to watch the Packers game because you want to see how he does.
Yeah, you become
every
fans
time he
of other
completes a
teams.
pass. If you're in a PPR league, every time he throws the ball and it's caught, you're like, "Fuck yeah, that's a point."
That's a point for me.
So it's really exciting, especially when you have a matchup that goes down to the wire. And because I'm in a league where I know pretty much everyone in the league, there's a lot of smack talk.
It gets fun.
Do you watch the league, the show? I know it's not on anymore, but
oh yeah,
Bring
that's
it back for another
fucking
season.
awesome show. I could see them totally coming back one day with the
I miss
show.
that show so much.
It's so good.
That guy Kevin is just in such a doghouse for thinking that stuff up about 9/11.
MacArthur, yeah.
Yeah, let's make up I was at 9/11, and then that's how your show gets canceled.
Wait, what?
No, that's not.
Well, that's not why it got. That's not what happened.
No,
the
writers
grew away.
decided
The
to
writers,
end it.
yeah, but
Yeah,
that helped make that decision a lot easier.
That actor who plays Kevin MacArthur on the show, his name's Stephen Renazizi.
Yeah.
He got in some shit because he made a comment in an
He
interview
claimed-
about 9/11 or something.
No,
but he was
claimed
involved.
that he was at 9/11 there, and that he had helped people and was at it when he in fact was not, and it came out that he was not,
and he was lying about it.
It was
and
he was
just-
lying. So lying about 9/11, not so hot, not a winning strategy.
But that's another why are people offended by that? He's a comedian. What do you expect?
Yeah, but he wasn't doing it for a joke,
It's
right?
like-
Or
I think he
just-
was actually. It was part of his
there's
shtick.
This is so you understand. Everybody's heard of that stolen valor thing. You have, right, Paul?
Yeah.
You've heard so it's it's not necessarily stolen valor, but it's
Trying to get credit when he doesn't
yeah,
deserve
he's getting
any.
credit when he's not supposed to get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Stolen valor is a whole different. I could literally have a whole topic of stolen valor.
Well, I mean, stolen valor is you're somebody stealing credit for the work that you did as a person in the military and the respect that you get there, and this guy is trying to steal the respect and evaluation of being a 9/11 survivor and
I've known some people
emergency response.
I know
person.
some people who have been there, and it's a whole different outlook.
Oh yeah, well I'm saying, but
A lot of them get sick.
Yeah, you don't want to make those claims,
Sure.
That's really offensive.
Yeah.
To those people that were there, really.
See, I could see I don't remember the context of what happened, but if it was done as a joke, then I'm with him. I think it's funny. go for it.
Yeah, if it was a joke, but I don't
But
think it was a joke.
if it wasn't a joke,
think-
then yeah, I could see people being offended, and then it's kind of a
But,
problem. And you need to backtrack from those statements then.
Yeah, I'd agree. And so, like, the football league's getting interesting. It's going to be good this year. I think that
Every year is exciting
a
because
lot of
it's
strong
just
candidates. Yep.
you never know.
I mean, we got Marshawn Lynch beast mode
Very
back
strong.
in the lineup.
Are you on the hype train for?
I'm not on his
for
hype train.
Money Lynch?
You know,
No.
he was not good the last season he was in the league.
That's
and
the way
he
I'm
was-
looking at it, too.
He was out for a year or maybe what was it,
He
1 or 2
claims
years.
to be
or whatever.
rejuvenated, and from all reports, the Raiders are happy with what he's doing,
Yeah.
and he
Boats
looks
and
good.
hoes.
I don't know if I buy it yet.
I don't buy.
need
I
to
can't buy it. I can't
give
buy
a
it.
few weeks into the regular season. We'll kind of just see how he looks.
Yeah, well, at his current average draft position, which is like
30-year-old
going in, like
running
the
back?
second or third round, like, it's way too high for me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when, like, the running backs that were there last
Yeah, you
year.
could
We're
take a
talking
chance
about
on him, but you're not
DeAndre
taking him high.
Washington, and we're talking about that other guy.
They
were.
Oh,
they were-
not Murray. He went to Minnesota.
No, Latavius Murray went to Minnesota, but like back when Latavius Murray was like the number one, those other guys were really competing with him
Yeah.
for that spot, and like
Jalen Richard.
yeah, Jalen Richard,
Yeah.
and like when Latavius Murray was actually, I think, pretty strong of a runner, and he was proven at least as is. I mean, I don't know what we're going to get from Marshawn
Totally
Lynch at
sucks
the moment.
for him
but
to
what
go to
happens
Minnesota
is,
and have them draft Dalvin Cook. So now
yeah,
he's
well, who else isn't? Don't they have someone else there on the team that like
in Minnesota.
yeah, like isn't what's his name still there?
I mean, they have like
The guy from last
Jarek
time.
McKinnon.
Yeah, Jarek McKinnon. Yeah, I don't think he was necessarily super terrible, but
Yeah, he's fine.
Latavius Murray I thought was good and he had upside, and they kept not playing him because they had felt things in DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard.
These
and
are
I
the
think
young
that
guys
they're, yeah,
coming
I
up.
think they're going to think. I think they're going to take the same type of strategy going forward with
Running back
yeah,
by committee, yeah.
with
Boats and
Marshawn,
hoes.
and it's going to be like nothing's going to be defined until week 3, and like if you want to take that early pick on a guy
I
who
think
isn't proven, who was
Lynch will
bad
be
the
the-
last years in the league, it's really
Lynch
risky.
will totally be the lead dog, though.
Yeah, I might be more inclined to take someone else at that position and then wait a little longer and hope to get like Eddie. I'd rather take a chance on Eddie Lacy than I would on Marshawn Lynch. And I mean that's the risk, especially because Thomas Rawls looks kind of good and CJ Prosise
he got
would
hurt.
be the passing down back.
Yeah. Didn't Rawls get hurt literally this
Yeah,
yesterday?
Yeah.
I think
And I
they
mean,
played
so
last
now
night.
we get a chance to see how he's going to perform.
Yep.
And so this will really be like proving these next 2 preseason games to see where he's going to be.
What do you think about the Jay Cutler situation?
I like
I'm
it.
fascinated.
I love
by
it.
This.
I think that it's good.
I think it's fantastic.
think-
I know he put up pedestrian numbers, but a guy that's literally 2 weeks removed from retirement, coming back to lead a new team. I know it's a similar.
He wasn't retired last year. He's injured. So let's get
No,
that.
but he retired in the off season. So and he's coming
Look,
out of
yeah,
retirement
so-
to play and start.
Smoking Jay Cuddy.
Yeah.
Smoking Jay Cuddy.
Yeah, I've seen the memes.
He's the gunslinger.
Yes, he is.
And, they got some good hands on that team. Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry. And, they're going to look to... They want to run the ball more with JHI, and they got to figure out a way to open up situations to make that happen. And I think that Smoking Jay Cuddy can air out the ball enough downfield that they'll open it up to help him out.
I think he makes them a fringe playoff team the way that they were last year. I know they made it in, and then Matt Moore started the playoff game.
Yeah.
Boats and hoes.
But, but yeah, I'm fascinated
and
by this.
hoes.
Like I'm watching all the interviews he does. He
The
looks
Nina,
typical
Pinta,
Jay
the Santa
Cutler. Like
Maria.
he's
Do
not
you know
depressed,
the
but he
bottom
looks
when I drink it
disinterested.
sangria?
But, he's
That's just who
always
he
been
is.
like that. And
He's a known
Yeah.
commodity, a known entity in the NFL. And
he only really started getting bad, in my opinion, once he started losing his wide receivers, and they've been going down to injury and leaving him.
I mean, you look at his 2015 numbers under Adam Gase in Chicago, and those were career bests all
Yeah,
across the board,
I-
pretty much. So
I mean, he just needs to find his guy, and once he finds his guy, he's going to pepper that guy with targets, and we're going to see how it works.
they're fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think you know what team really fascinates me, and they're the Hard Knocks guys this year, the Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Man, I can't wait for the Doug Martin story so I can get a little idea of where that is. But they're
been
looking
watching-
solid.
have you been
a
watching
little
Hard
bit, a little
Knocks?
bit, yeah. I mean, didn't they have
Looks
they had one?
looks good. It looks like himself. He's healthy.
I mean, look, dude, they got. I think that their team significantly improved. They got Deshaun Jackson. I mean, their
Yep.
tight end situation is very good.
Cameron Brate.
Cameron Brate is
Tight
amazing.
ends are important.
Yeah, they always are. And their running situation, even though Doug Martin's
they cut
suspended,
Roberto Aguayo, so that kind of eliminates their kicking issue somewhat.
They should
You think
totally,
that
they should
would, but
totally
I don't
sign
think it
Roberto
does.
Luongo.
Nick
He'll
Folk
keep them
is
from
fine.
scoring the football goals.
I mean,
I think they should sign over Hot Carl.
Hot Carl.
Hot. He would be a great addition to the Tampa Bay.
They should totally send Roberto
So-
Luongo. He'll stop them scoring football goal
So we've
points.
dominated this conversation, Devon, you and me, for a bit.
I
So
know.
let's bring these other guys into
Yeah, we
it.
don't
We're
know
not
shit about football.
So much into football. So
I think
let me
Guy
ask you this.
Ledouche is a strong QB.
Why do you guys not like football, or what's your disinterest in it? Like,
I just feel like I could be
Boring.
doing better things with my time than
Yeah,
watching
it's
sports.
It's
Well,
boring.
see,
what
It
can we
just-
get you to sign over to our team? Come on, what contract do we have to slide across the table?
Well,
to make
Paul,
Um,
like you like hockey, so you're familiar with like
Yes.
the concept of
fandom.
defense and all that.
And-
I just don't think that. I don't know. I just never found in my mind that, and it's not insulting anybody that plays football. I just never found them to be that complete of an athlete, like somebody who plays even baseball. And I don't like watching baseball on TV, but I love going to baseball games.
I went to
It's different.
Yankees Tigers.
It's
a
a
few weeks ago.
completely different.
Yeah,
it's a completely different aspect.
We
You go
went
to a game, it's great.
went to a Trenton game.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved
it's
it,
super
right?
fun when you go to the
Yeah,
game.
I like
It's just
going to
boring.
the games.
It's just
Like
boring.
watching
Trenton
it,
Thunder,
but-
or
Yeah.
like the
Trenton Thunder, yeah.
Hey, going to the games are
Great.
super fun. It's just
Yeah.
boring when you watch on TV.
Yeah.
Soccer, I think their
Minor
cardio
league
is
baseball
just
fun.
Yeah, in my mind, I like playing baseball too. I love playing baseball. My thought
Yeah,
process
sports are
on
always
like
fun.
basketball.
I play
I can't get
basketball
into
a lot.
basketball because of
Love
I
it.
don't feel like there's coming from playing hockey my whole life. There's no defense, and that's just my personal opinion on it. And I know the concept of defense is different in hockey versus it is in baseball or in basketball.
It's just like anything. It's a
Excuse
man
me,
in zone,
basketball,
just
man.
like anything.
Yeah. And I mean, we were talking about we want to do a short special at some point, maybe in the next
we
month
were
or so.
discussing this earlier,
About
doing
because
a small
we're
hockey
both
thing.
both very big Devils fans and hockey fans in general.
Mm-hmm.
I could bring two different people on. There'll be more than one
I'm all for it.
to get on with this. Another
It's a
Devils
variety podcast.
I'm not. I'll leave for that one.
another Devils fan and actually a Rangers fan who'd be more than willing to talk about hockey.
My brother
with us.
would come on and talk Rangers. Yeah,
Yeah, my buddy John's a huge hockey fan.
I met him.
Yeah, John.
Yep.
I used to live with John.
Yep.
My ex roommate.
Yep.
But I could never really get into football, and I've gone to football games. I've tried. I could just never. I don't know. There's something about that just doesn't.
you know what
appeal
it
to me.
is? Like, it's not even just about the sports. It's more like the ritual bonding. with
yeah,
people
and
you
like
go
your
with.
team,
tailgating.
and like
Yeah, I just
heavenly.
I don't know. My dad always pushed me to play hockey and everything, and I played in high school,
I went
college.
to
and,
Army Navy game.
yeah,
Oh, I had
I would go. I would go to an Army
going
Navy
again
game.
this year.
that's
Simply
good.
for the fact of having been in the Army, and I'll probably get blasted because
ass blasted.
yes,
Yes,
ass
yes.
blasted,
Another Sonny
of course.
reference.
I don't know. I'd need other parts for that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Shocker.
yeah, the shocker,
Shocker.
shocker,
We're just talking about ass blast in general.
Yeah.
spocker. Was it rocker?
Just a fist.
Yeah, it's a little too much.
When we talked about putting the head in
Too much.
all the way.
Yeah, all the
it's-
way in.
I can't. That's fucking impossible. There's no way.
I mean, hey, if nothing else, you're guaranteed.
could always
to hit
go the Mr.
G-spot.
Hands route.
You can't miss it.
yeah, because you're gonna rip it in half and destroy it.
Only certain people get that reference.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What
All
reference?
right.
You
Go
can
the
show
Mr.
me.
Hands route.
You show me after
Oh,
this.
okay. I know what you're talking
You
about.
want to see that? Okay.
No, I saw it.
I'll show you it.
It took
All
me a
right.
second.
Thank you.
All right. I don't know if you guys are wanting to wrap this up.
Yeah,
at this
we can
point.
wrap it up.
Yeah,
We're kind of
so,
going way over our usual time limit here.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah. So that concludes this episode of Sports Center.
Oh, okay.
You can
we
Can follow
totally,
us.
We tried it.
we totally sang Boats and
Yeah.
Hose in the background.
It's definitely not worth it. I mean, you guys are not too interested.
we
in
we
it.
can
But,
talk
like,
draft strategy like off the air.
oh yeah. I
yeah.
mean, there are so many different types of strategies.
I never got into fantasy sports personally. Like I tried to. I
It's
just
so
couldn't.
much fun.
Oh, it's so fun because you don't even have to like.
Especially if you have a draft
I don't
party.
even. Yeah.
You
Oh,
get
I'll
everyone
go to
over.
the fucking party.
You get like at the
Dude,
league.
I cried
where
at my
they
last
get a
draft party.
whiteboard and
I got that drunk. It was good.
so good.
It was good.
Everyone gets drunk. There's food and like
Oh, so much food.
Well,
yeah. I love doing.
we'll
that
just have a party anyway for the sake of having a party.
Yeah,
Call it a
but-
draft party for no reason. I mean, I might be moving into a new apartment soon, so we'll have a welcome.
Yeah, we should have a.
Well, maybe we can just
Housewarming.
create a fantasy league between us so you guys can learn.
yeah.
We won't take
Watch
advantage
one.
of you.
Watch one of us win because we
Look,
just kind of
no,
make
I
it up.
would.
Yeah, I mean, look, we could just play like a 6, 7, or 8 man league and just make it real light, and then
I would.
that means
I would do that.
That means
I
that
want
the
to
teams
do.
that they draft are got to be so good that it doesn't matter.
You guys
You-
should
That's-
if we do that, we should totally just go to a should totally like rent an ice surface for an hour and then just fuck around.
You know what the fun thing is? Like,
I mean, I'm probably the only one who can.
when you're in a league with your friends,
pass
you
and
can have
skate all at
side
the same
bets. like
I
on the
can
side, like
skate,
that,
but I
not
cannot
involving the money. Where
do
like
both.
if I'm playing you next week or whatever, I can be like, well, if I win, then
That's
you
funny.
have to
I can't
buy rounds
rollerblade
next
back
time we
next
go
game.
out or something. Like that. So
You
it's
rollerblade
fun.
back
It's
there.
fun for
Cannot
that
rollerblade.
reason too, and it
Cannot
makes you
rollerblade at
more
all.
competitive and makes you care more than
I
you
can't
think you
stop
Yeah.
when
So.
I skate. That's not an issue.
I can't. After I hurt my leg in high school, I can't stop on both sides. I can only stop on one side.
It's hard.
will. Yeah.
All right.
I can't
get a
cross
lot
that
of-
wrap.
I get a lot of-
either.
Yep.
Anyway, let's
bow
wrap it
on
up.
it.
Wrap it
All
up.
right.
So, yeah, you can follow us. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Salted Coffee Podcast, and we're on Twitter at Salted Coffee Pod. I am on Twitter at B Koenig Designs. You can follow Devon. He's at Hunkalicious Rex.
That's right.
Yeah, I guess that's it, right?
Okay.
New episode on SoundCloud every Monday.
Yep.
We're still trying to figure out YouTube or
This is
what we want to do
episode
there.
18.
No, 19.
19.
19. Holy shit.
Catching up. We've done
Almost old enough to drink.
2 more, man.
Right. How many? We've done several in a row now. I think we've got 5 or 6 weeks in a row. We're on a
Yeah,
roll.
every once in a while we might miss a week here and there. We're trying to. We've gained more followers.
Have we?
Yes, we have.
I like followers.
The last month or so, we've gained a few. Thank you for following us and
We appreciate the support.
We do.
Even
yeah, seriously. Even though you're just listening
subscribe
to our
on
stupid asses
YouTube. Give us a like. Throw us a comment. Send us your questions
Hey,
via email.
guess
Do
what?
whatever you got to
make
do.
sure you
talking. No
write a review.
self-deprecating shit today.
Write a review. That works too.
I just realized that no self-deprecating shit.
For the first time in weeks.
Yeah, we're stopping it here. We'll probably do it again next week, but we'll stop it at this.
We might bring it back.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. So
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank
so-
you, all the followers.
And goodbye, internet.
See you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Be excellent to each other.